भावातीत ध्यान कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। भावातीत ध्यान कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। अनुभव कर लो, अनुभव कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। 20 मिनट बस ध्यान कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। सुबह शाम बस ध्यान कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। आसन प्राणायाम कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। अनुभव कर लो, अनुभव कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। भावातीत ध्यान कर लो। सबकी आत्मा शांति का सागर है, सबकी आत्मा आनंद का सागर है। सबकी आत्मा शांति का सागर है, सबकी आत्मा ज्ञान का सागर है। सबकी आत्मा ज्ञान का सागर है, सबकी आत्मा शक्ति का सागर है, सागर है, सागर है। अनुभव कर लो, अनुभव कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। 20 मिनट बस ध्यान कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। सुबह शाम बस ध्यान कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। आसन प्राणायाम कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। भावातीत ध्यान कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। अनुभव कर लो, अनुभव कर लो, जीवन पूर्ण बनेगा। भावातीत ध्यान कर लो।
जय गुरुदेव। अनिता जी। जय गुरुदेव। मुकेश जी।
जय गुरुदेव दीदी।
जय गुरुदेव भैया जी। घनश्याम जी, आप पहले सहनावतु से शुरू कीजिएगा, फिर उसके बाद एक एक 5वां अध्याय का 23rd श्लोक से शुरू करेंगे। आज आप काली सहनावतु करके वहां पे छोड़ दीजिएगा। ओके
जी दीदी। ओम सहना ववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। जय गुरुदेव।
जय गुरुदेव। अनिता जी।
Yes,
Shall we start, Anita ji, with the
yeah.
verse? Yes.
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 And Hema is there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So Hima will be starting the Sanskrit reading of the shloka. Then we will have the English verse reading and then comments. So shall
Yes.
I?
Yes.
Uh,
Sunita, you can ask Hema
yeah.
to read the last two shlokas as we do every time, as per the Maharishi guidelines, 21
Yes.
and
Yes.
22, and then we start the 25.
Okay. Jai Gurudev Hima Bindu, ma'am.
Yeah.
We will read the previous shlokas, that is the 22nd, 21st and 22nd. And then we will move on to the 23rd. So you will be able to read this 21st and 22nd shlokas in Sanskrit.
Yeah.
Jai
Gurudev. Om Sri Paramatmani Namaha. Chapter 5, 21. Sloka 21. Bahyasparseshvasaktatma Vindatyatmani Yetsnukam Sabrahma Sukhamakshayamasnute. Sloka 22. ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनय एव ते आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः. Now we will move on to verse 23. शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुम् प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम् स युक्तः स सखी नरः. शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुम् प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम् स युक्तः स सखी नरः. जय गुरुदेव.
He who is able, even here, before liberation from the body, to resist the excitement born of desire and anger, is united with the divine. He is a happy man. Even here, remaining within the limitations of the relative field of daily life in the world, the ability to resist the excitement born of desire and anger has its basis in the state of supreme contentment, which results from union with the divine and from the knowledge of the self as separate from the field of activity in the state of cosmic consciousness, which is the result of such union. In this state of lasting contentment, there is no possibility of any excitement. Excitement can only arise in a discontented mind, ever seeking something more. Desire and anger belong to the realm of the mind. For any mental activity to take place, there must of necessity be a corresponding activity in the physical structure of the nervous system. The mental activity of desire and anger produces very powerful excitement in the nervous system. It is this physical excitement that stirs the nervous system to activity, and in case of non-realized man, this excitement is immediately expressed as speech and action. But in the case of a realized man, it is anchored to the eternal silence as a ship is anchored to the seabed. His nervous system permanently maintains that state of restful alertness which corresponds to pure awareness of the self. And this state of restful alertness prevents the stir of desire and anger in the nervous system. This is how a state of his nervous system does not allow excitement to arise in a realized man. Self-awareness acts as a shock absorber on the mental level, while the state of restful alertness of the nervous system acts as a shock observer on the physical level. This is the natural state of life in cosmic consciousness. Life flows through desire. As long as desire is present, the possibility of anger will always exist, and therefore the stir produced by desire and anger is an essential feature of life. This is why Sri Krishna Bhagavan does not advocate the elimination of desire, but only says that it is necessary to create a situation in which the excitement born of desire and anger is automatically resisted, in the sense that is, it does not overpower life. This situation is created by culturing both mental and physical aspects of life through the practice of transcendental meditation, which produces the necessary refinement in the mind and the nervous system simultaneously. In the state of cosmic consciousness, which is the state described by united with the divine, this refinement is such that it does not allow the excitement of the desire and anger to arise. But Shri Krishna Bhagavan says, before liberation, before gaining cosmic consciousness. This is because the knowledge that the self is divine in its nature and is completely unattached to the field of activity grows as the practice of gaining transcendental consciousness advances, so that long before a man has actually gained cosmic consciousness, the infusion of being into the nature of the mind becomes intense enough to give him the ability to resist the excitement born of desire and anger. The need for resisting this excitement arises only when there is a chance for the excitement to arise. This happens only before cosmic consciousness is actually gained. Nevertheless, it is clear from this teaching that the ability to resist excitement should be considered as one criterion of being united with the divine. This is because there is no direct way of measuring the degree of infusion of being into mind and ascertaining whether or not full and final infusion of being has taken place. The second criterion that Sri Krishna Bhagavan gives is he is a happy man. He is free from the sources of sorrow, as shown in the previous verse. Before liberation from body, this expression shows that the present teaching is for an aspirant engaged in the practice of gaining the state of unity with the divine. It means before having gained release from the binding influence of action, before having gained the state of cosmic consciousness in which the self is permanently experienced as separate from the activity, before identification of the self with the body is dissolved, before the state of renunciation has been achieved. This verse has been generally misunderstood to mean that resisting desire is a way to union with the divine. And this has been given rise to all sorts of aesthetic practices and exhortations to abandon desire for the sake of coming to the union. It is wrong to suppose that this verse offers a path to union through attempting to resist desire. It is merely places union with divine parallel to the natural ability to resist desire. This ability in the relative field is the expression of the union in the absolute field. One of the two, union with the divine, is easier to attain. It forms the basis of the ability to resist. Having declared in this verse that the mind of a yogi remains unshakable in the field of activity, Shri Krishna Bhagavan in the following verse goes on to describe the inner state of such a mind. Jai Gurudev. Now for this verse 23, we have some main points, and the very important thing that we have now witnessed is that the persons who can check on the forces of desire and anger are happy people, and those are the yogis, because we all understand that human being has the power of discrimination. So when we have this power of discrimination, we should exercise this power to restrain from the impulses of desire and anger. That's one point. The second point is, when mind does not attain the object of its desire, then what happens? It gets into the state of anger. That we all understand. The urges of desire and anger are very powerful, because if you want to achieve something, you want to get something, and you do not get it, that desire of not getting makes you angry. So these powerful impulses are like the currents of the river. And since we are bestowed with the power of discrimination, so we can withstand the urges of desire and anger. How we can do that? We can do that because we understand that the resolute intellect should be used to check the mind as and when the thought of material pleasures come to the mind. But how do we check that? How do we are able to control that? That is, when we do transcendental meditation, that time we are established in that restful alertness. We are in that position where we know how to resist this. The mental activity of desire and anger, it produces some excitement. And when this excitement is there, we understand that consequently our nervous system also gets disturbed. And when our nervous system is disturbed, then we see when we talk, our speech and action, it shows in that. But a person who is a realized man, he does not speak and talk like this, because there is an eternal silence, and his nervous system is calmed down, and then he maintains a state of restful alertness which corresponds to his pure awareness. So these are the 3 points which are clearly mentioned here. And a very important one thing is that how do we culture the mental and physical level of life? And we know that we culture through TM. So we have to get into us that self-awareness on the mental level and restful alertness on the nervous system level are both very important. In order, we have to resist the desire or anger. But now here Maharishi also says, that we don't have to resist it deliberately, because desire is part of the life. It by no ways means that desire has to be restricted, because desire is a natural ability. And how it should come? It should come through the natural ability of the human being to resist it. And how does this natural ability we develop? We develop when we go sincerely through the transcendental meditation that brings us to that field of calmness, restful alertness, where we know exactly how and where and when we have to resist, and when we have to be in that natural state with our natural ability, let things come and go. So, in this, Maharishi has given a beautiful scientific research that has been found out that when we are able, before the liberation from the body, to resist the excitement born of desire and anger, he's a happy man. Now, what happens if we are a happy man or a person who resists the excitement born of desire and anger is a happy man? Then what is the result of that? The result is decreased hostility, increased autonomic stability, more effective interaction with the environment. There will be less of stress. There will be improved resistance to stress. There will be happiness, and there will be enhanced inner well-being. So many scientific researches, good things depend on one thing, that is Maharishi Transcendental Meditation. And these is the decreased aggression that we have, as mentioned in verse 23. So these are some of the main points which I thought you probably know, but I thought I'll share with you. And if anybody wants to ask any question regarding that desire and anger, we can have a little discussion. Or if you have clearly understood that how we human beings have the power of discrimination, and how we can withstand the impulses of desire and anger.
Jai Gurudev Anitaji. So, shall we proceed if there are no questions with the next verse?
Yes, Sunita, you can ask if somebody wants to. Are you clear
Yes.
about it?
Yes, yes, yes. So, anyone has any question related to the desire or related to
Anger?
that we have discussed, the anger, and many things have been told by Anitaji which were clear enough to understand, and everyone has do not have the power of having a control on the anger and the desire. Yes, they always desire, but desire is not a bad thing. But how to control it, how to control anger is what we have to learn. So, any questions? Yes,
they have mentioned very beautiful here that the resolute intellect should be used to check the mind as and when the thought arises in mind. So the basic main thing is to control the mind and the thought that arise. And that is what we people do is through chants.
So we have a scientific principle, where thought leads to action, action leads to achievement, and achievement leads to
fulfillment. So Sunita, you can go ahead.
Yes, yes. Bindu madam, will you please go for the next Sanskrit verse?
Yeah. Thank you, Anitaji. Thank you, Sunita. Jai Gurudev. We will now move on to Shloka 24. Yonta sukhontara ramaha tathantar jyotireva yaha स योगी ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति योऽन्तः सुखोऽन्तरारामः तथान्तर्ज्योतिरेव यः स योगी ब्रह्मनिर्वाणम् ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति. He whose happiness is within, whose contentment is within, whose light is all within, that yogi, being one with Brahman, attains eternal freedom in divine consciousness. This verse is the crest of the teaching of this chapter on renunciation. It presents a state in which life is wholly conversed upon its innermost aspect and declares that state to be eternal freedom. Furthermore, it brings to light the sequence of stages on the way to realization. As the practice of transcendental meditation advances, inner happiness grows. With this, contentment grows, and at the same time, the experience of being becomes clearer. The inner light grows. With this, inner awareness grows, and with it, the ability spontaneously to maintain being during activity. When one naturally begins to maintain the state of being in all states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, then one has attained eternal freedom in divine consciousness. He whose happiness is within. This expression is a development of the argument in the two preceding verses. First, all pleasures born of contact are only sources of sorrow. The enlightened man does not rejoice in them. This implies that the outside world is not the field of happiness for a realized man. Second, he is a happy man. Verse 23. If his happiness does not lie in the outside world and yet he is happy, his happiness can only be within himself. The mind wanders in search of happiness, but when, through union with the divine, the mind is transformed into bliss consciousness, it finds the goal of its search within itself. By virtue of bliss consciousness, even the relative aspect of man's existence is wholly permitted by bliss. So, experiencing the relative field of happiness outside and absolute bliss within, his whole life is naturally anchored to inner happiness and therefore to contentment also. Whose light is all within, who dwells in the light of the self, whose inner being is illumined by the light of the inner divine. The word all is important. It means that he is totally absorbed in the inner light, that his whole life is permitted by the light of inner being. He is awake within himself and remains so in spite of any activity in the outside world. He is established on that absolute level of existence which is deep within everything, that field of unbounded bliss consciousness which is self-sufficient and self-illuminating. This does not mean that he is not active in outer life. It simply means that even though his mind, intellect, ego, senses, and body are functioning on their respective levels, and he has the whole phenomenal world around him, his self remains completely unattached. It is only superficially affected by this outer field of life This is that integrated state of existence in which every level of life is self sufficient and all the different levels progressively function together in harmony. Eternal freedom in divine consciousness. This translates the Sanskrit Brahma Nirvana, the freedom born of the state of Brahman. The present verse speaks of that yogi who does not require anything in the outside world to make him happy. Nothing in the outside world attracts him. He does not need an eternal light, for he is awake in his own light. Established in the freedom of cosmic consciousness, he is always free. The experience of variety in the world in no way takes him out of his liberation. No external light or knowledge of the relative world can in any way deprive him of his state. Once self consciousness is established in the nature of the mind cherishes it in all conditions. Sri Krishna Bhagavan is saying that nothing in the world will be able to overshadow the perpetual freedom of a yogi in this resolute state. While he acts in the relative field of life, he is yet established in his own self. Divine consciousness is not opposed to life in the world, nor is consciousness of the relative world opposed to the divine consciousness of absolute existence. The following verse brings out other features of the state of enlightenment. Jai Gurudev.
So
Jai Gurudev
now
Mataji.
this verse 24, the main points over here are those who are happy within and illumined by inner light are liberated from material existence. They do see the material existence, they feel the material existence, the senses are there, but they are so much illumined inside that they are liberated from the material existence. The inner light is that divine knowledge that comes from within in the form of realization. And when that light comes in the form of realization, there is happiness from the external objects, and there is a happiness inside us that we experience as bliss. And then we realize that bliss flows within us, then the external pleasures seem very small. The second main point is that the mind wanders in search of happiness. And when mind is transformed into bliss consciousness through the union with the divine, then the mind finds the goal of its search within itself. Then even at the relative field, the existence is permeated by bliss. Because why it is permeated by bliss? Because now the mind is established in that bliss consciousness. Another point to know here is whose light is all within means that the whole life is permeated by the light of an inner being. All means totally absorbed. So he is self-sufficient, self-illumined, and established in the absolute level of existence. This, however, does not mean that he is not active in the outer life. It means that mind, intellect, ego are functioning, but his self remains completely unattached. Another term that we come across in this verse is Brahman Nirvana. Yogi does not require anything in the outside world to make him happy. He does not need external light, for he is awake in his own light. Once self-consciousness is established in the nature of mind, then mind cherishes it in all conditions. So the most important take in this verse is the mind is happy at that divine level, then everything is happy. We are self-illumined and self-sufficient. And this happens through Maharishi Transcendental Meditation, which has been proven by the scientific research, whose happiness is within, whose contentment is within, whose light is all within, then that person has the increased inner directness, greater independence and self-supportiveness, increased contentment, growth of inner fulfillment, independent of outside stimulation, and increased self-sufficiency. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev Antaji, well explained about this bliss consciousness, happiness within, and what you call the light that is like in the inner light attachment that gives happiness from outside. The inner happiness is what they have inside. So to become a yogi, like it's really a bliss for them, and I really feel very happy when we listen to such comments, and we are somewhere where we are not even to that level, because we have just started the transcendental meditation where we feel that bliss, and we have many stages yet to go.
Yes, but then you are trying, and if you are understanding, like Maharishi says,
Yes.
knowledge and experience will go together. So now, if you're getting the knowledge and you're doing meditation, your program regularly, so you will be experiencing, then slowly and steadily that bliss will show on your manifestations of speech and action, your behavior, and everything
Yes,
in life.
yes, and I do experience that because I regularly do in the morning and evening twice. So I feel there will be very rarely that I miss the evening, but before sleep, at least I'll just have 10 to 20 minutes again that. So any questions to be raised? Anyone? Okay. Anitaji, shall we continue with the next one?
Yes, and if you get one more very important point of this that even nobody has asked, that when we're talking the term all, then
Yes.
it is explained by Maharishi, all means that you are totally absorbed. Now, you are totally absorbed here, means absorbed in what? Absorbed in self-realization. When you are doing TM, you are totally absorbed. So the outcome of that totally absorbed will be that you will be self-sufficient, self-illumined. All these qualities come only when you are totally absorbed into. So that is, even when we teach TM to children in the school, there is a particular way that we take our mantra, we come down to that subtle level and then come down to the subtle level, and how at the different levels, then we are all totally absorbed. And that the outcome would be that self-sufficiency and level of realization and existence and all that.
Yes, self-sufficiency, self-realization is
Yeah.
very
And
important.
then they have mentioned also here, then your happiness permeates in everything at the relative level also. You don't have to be happy. Now I'm internally happy and tomorrow I'll be externally happy. No, you are happy, you're happy. Because your internal happiness will be manifested in your external happiness. Your absolute bliss consciousness will be there permeated in the relative field as well.
Yes, yes, Hanika. So we will continue with the next verse. Bindu madam, we will go with the Sanskrit verse of 25.
Yeah.
And I will read the English translation.
Thank you, Anitaji. Thank you, Sunita. Now, Shloka 25. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rushaya Kshina Kalmashaha Chinnaidvadha Yatatmanaha Chinnaidvaidhayatatmanaha Sarvabhutahite rataha Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rushaya Kshina Kalmashaha Chinnai Dvaidhayatatmanaha Sarvabhutahite rataha. Jai Gurudev. Sunita. Sunita, please continue.
Yes. Jai Gurudev. The seers whose sins are destroyed, whose doubts are dispelled, who are self-controlled, and take delight in doing good to all creatures, attain eternal freedom in divine consciousness. It should be noted that when Sri Krishna Bhagavan presents the state of eternal freedom through the principle of renunciation, as he does in the previous verse, he does not lose a moment before adding that in such a state a man takes delight in doing good to all creatures. In the state of renunciation, a man becomes devoted to all creatures and capable of doing good, not only to himself, but to all other beings. It is this teaching that places the philosophy of renunciation parallel to that of the yoga of action. Seers, the knowers of reality, established in the realization of the self as separate from activity, who see life as the dharma of the divine while themselves remaining uninvolved, whose sins are destroyed. Sins are destroyed by both yoga and Sankhya. Doubts are dispelled by both yoga and Sankhya. Self-controlled. This state is gained by both yoga and Sankhya. Delight in doing good to all creatures. This state is reached by both yoga and Sankhya. Sri Krishna Bhagavan here describes certain prerequisites for one who is to attain eternal freedom in divine consciousness. It is fortunate for aspirants that all these conditions are fulfilled quite naturally and automatically through the teaching of Sankhya, which is inclusive of the method described by Sri Krishna Bhagavan in the 45th verse of the second chapter. Be without the three gunas, The simple technique of achieving this state without the three gunas is the practice of transcendental meditation, for it readily brings the mind from the field of gross experience to the state of transcendental consciousness. When the mind transcends during meditation, it reaches the state of pure consciousness, free from all diversity. Once it becomes permanently established in being, knowledge becomes complete and all its doubts, whatever they may be, quite naturally disappear. Having risen above the egocentricity and selfishness of individuality, abiding in bliss consciousness and fully connected with the source of energy, a man can but move about compassionately, doing good to all beings. Jai Gurudev.
So, this is a very beautiful verse, 25, which now brings us to the level that who are the seers? The verse itself is very self-explanatory. Who are the seers? Who are the good people? They are the one, a man, who take delight in doing good to all creatures. They may have been in the state of renunciation, but their actions they are the seers of the knowers of reality, because they have realized self as separate from activity, and they see the whole life is a drama of the divine, while themselves they are not involved in it. Because we do see, we may not be involved in it, but we do see, that's our senses, whose sins have destroyed. How they are destroyed? Because now they are self-realized. There are no doubts in them. That has been dispelled. That has gone out, because they have gained self-control by yoga and sankhya, by experience and knowledge. And what these seers now do, they delight in doing good to all creatures. They have reached that state. Now, how can you reach that state? It is only when your doubts are dispelled, you have self-control, and you take delight in good of not only yourself, but in the good of all, attain eternal freedom in divine consciousness. And this happens when we have already studied in verse 45 of the second chapter, be without three gunas. This simple technique, be without three gunas, is the practice of transcendental meditation. And we understand when the mind transcends during meditation, it reaches that state of pure consciousness, free from all diversity. Then it becomes permanently established in being. And when you are permanently established in being, then you show that being at the level of the relative field also. Your knowledge becomes absolutely complete, and all the doubts, whatever they may be, they naturally disappear, because you have now risen above the selfishness of individuality, abiding by bliss consciousness. And now you are totally connected with the source of energy. And what is that source of energy here they're mentioning? A man can but move about compassionately, will always think, will always do good for others. So your life becomes nourishing and self-supporting, and also you do good to all, and that is how you become a very established person in absolute bliss consciousness, and you take delight It is not that you do out of compulsion or something. You take delight in doing good to others. So this is a very, very nice verse which leads us to our self-improvement, that we must always lead a life where we can be nice and helpful and good, not only for us and for our own self, but for everyone in the society, because we as human beings has got lots to do. So creating this atmosphere of delight for others is a very, very key point of this verse. Now, when you do that, when you are in that situation of creating that oneness, that blissness for others, and taking delight in doing good for all creatures, then what happens? Then there is increased positivity in the national mood, increase positivity in your own self. You radiate that great quality in the society. You are more progressive. You are more progressive in everything that you do in life, because there is no selfishness in you. You are going and abiding by all great policies of the government, of the organization, of the things that you are standing for. You remember, sometimes we are always questioning and we are never happy with this and we're never happy with this. So when you are in this lovely state, as referred in verse 25, that we take delight in doing good to all creatures, that is, attain eternal freedom in divine consciousness, then we have increased national approval, and this happens through Maharishi transcendental meditation when there is more positivity all around us. And that is how we have seen that there is so much of effect of Maharishi effect in the collective consciousness, and this radiates in ourselves and through us in society. And this is how we move on. We just had the peace assembly and everything, and what it was basically based on the delightful nature of the human being to create that peace in the world. And we all have done, and the basic thing in that was TM Siddhi program and flying, yogic flying and dhyan and this. So this shows that this, what Maharishi explains in Bhagavad Gita, it is the outcome of his great, he is the founder of TM, and this is how we go about it. And this brings us delight not only in ourselves, but delight in society as we radiate that blissfulness not only to ourselves, but to everyone. And we are held ourselves responsible to create a better world for others as well. Thank you. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev Antaji. It was very well explained about this and how to come over the egocentricity and the selfishness. That is like the most, that quality should be, that should reduce in everyone. Because the I, when we say that I, that is when it shows the ego. Every person who has to overcome this, because we have to see God in everyone, whether it is a creature or a human or anyone. And when we have that vision,
so you have
so that
all been
ego
the great
and that
teachers.
selfishness, we overcome.
Yeah.
Pardon?
And Sunita and Hema, all of you been great teachers in Maharishi Vidya Mandirs. You would have realized by now that each one of us are already through Maharishi consciousness-based education. We are attuned to this type of the principle of renunciation and always ready to help another person in time of need, whether it is in
Yes.
academic, whether it is socially, whatever.
Yes. Yes.
So this is now imbibed in us. It has become so much part of our life to live like this. So,
We had very good conversation with you, Anitaji. So,
but
shall
Sunita,
anyone have any? Uh,
I was waiting for Bhuvnesh ji to join.
yes, Anitaji.
Has he joined, Bhuvnesh Sharma ji? Has Bhuvnesh ji joined? I can't.
But no. No, he has not. Shall we wait for Bhuvnesh Sharma ji to join, or
Do you want me to ask him? Shall I ask him if he's joining?
yeah,
I
just
can
find
hear
out whether
him.
yeah.
Then
If you can, you just have a word so that if Sir joins, then we will wait, or we will continue with 10 minutes meditation. And then
Hema will do the mala also. Next two verses, 26 and 27. She
Yes,
will
sir.
read the next two Sanskrit verses, and we
yes,
have
yes,
meditation and then the Shanti part.
yes. And recitation of this fifth chapter, all the shlokas.
Who's going to do that, Sunita?
मनीष जी या घनश्याम जी हैं और मुकेश तीनों हैं.
So,
Anyone anyone will be reciting that.
I also would like to know if you would always be like to do the main points, and if you all want to ask something in the main points, it will be so interesting. Well, these are very, 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 very comforting to the human being. Nicety of human beings. So they're easily understood and
Yes.
easily conveyed also because they are part of our life.
Yes, yes,
Which is our daily routine, helping and knowing ourselves and self-realizing and all these things. But it is so beautiful because it encourages you to be a better person.
definitely, Anita ji.
It helps us when we read. Sometimes we do make so many mistakes in life, but I feel whenever I read Bhagavad Gita, then I feel, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Bhagavad Gita says don't do it,
Yes.
because we are all human beings and subject to so many errors that we make in life. And because then we have to accept we are human beings, but we can always be improved human beings. Lesser mistakes, more of understanding, and as you age, you even become more
Yes,
established
Anita ji.
in your
Yes,
intellect and
yes,
getting things done. So for me,
yes,
it's a great
yes, yes,
blessings at this time to understand all these things very minutely, and it's great power and strength that you can share it with somebody who's on your level of experiences. So I feel very nice to be with you and with my colleagues so that we can have this interaction. So I think, Sunita, it's
definitely.
already about 8:30. You can
Yes.
continue with your program.
Meditation, 10 minutes meditation we will have, group meditation.
Then, if in the meantime Bhuvnesh ji comes,
And then
then the whole chapter's parayana, and then Bindu will read the two shlokas, and we call it off.
then we will
Okay?
have a word with us. Okay,
I'll
Mataji.
just keep the
Sorry,
Bhunesh
Mataji.
coming. Okay, Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev, Mataji. And Jai Gurudev, we will continue with 10 minutes group meditation. We will start now. So everyone can mute yourself and close your eyes for the meditation. जय गुरुदेव। जय गुरुदेव। मनीष जी, घनश्याम जी, Bindu madam, you just end the mala with 26 and 27, and then घनश्याम जी आप उसके बाद बिंदु मैम के बाद आप 5वां अध्याय का अध्ययन कीजिए और उसके बाद शांति पाठ कीजिएगा।
जी दीदी, जय गुरुदेव।
जय गुरुदेव।
Thank you, Sunita. Jai Gurudev. Chapter 5, Shloka 26. Kama krodha viyuktanam yatinam yata chetasam abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmanam. Shloka 27. Sparsan krutva bahirbahyan चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ। जय गुरुदेव।
जय गुरुदेव। घनश्याम जी आप
जी दीदी,
5वां अध्याय का अध्ययन कीजिए और उसके बाद शांति पाठ।
जी दीदी, जय गुरुदेव। ओम पार्थाया प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणी भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुशं ददामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ पंचमोऽध्यायः कर्मसन्न्यासयोगः। अर्जुनोवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्णं पुनर्योगं च संससि यच्छेययेतयोरेकं तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासः कर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो वशिष्यते। ज्ञेयः नित्यसन्न्यासी यो न देष्टे न काञ्क्षति निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते। सांख्ययोगौ पृथक् बाला प्रवदन्ते न पंडिताः एकमप्यास्थिता सम्यक् उभयो विन्दते फलम्। यत्सांख्ये प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते। एकं सांख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति। सन्न्यासस्तु महाबाहो दुःखमाप्तुमयोगतः। योगयुक्तो मुनिर्ब्रह्म न चिरेणाधिगच्छति। योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः। सर्वभूतात्मभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते। नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित्। पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् प्रणपन् रसजन् गृह्णन् नुन्मिषन्निमषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणिन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन् ब्रह्माण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न शपापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठिकीम् अयुक्तः कामकारेण फले सक्तो निबध्यते सर्वकर्माणि मनसा सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशे नवद्वारे पुरे देहि नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन् न करते त्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफल संयोगं स्वभावस्तु विवर्तते नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः ज्ञानेन तु तज्ज्ञानं येषां नाशितमात्मनः तेषामादित्यवत् ज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम् तद्बुद्ध्यस्तदात्मानस्तन्निष्ठास्तत्परायणाः गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिं ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः विद्याविनयसम्पन्ने ब्राह्मणे गवहस्तिनि सुनिचैव स्वपाके च पाण्डिता समदर्शिनः इहैव तेर्जिता सर्गो येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म अस्माद् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः न पृच्छेत् प्रियं प्राप्य नो दुजेत् प्राप्य च प्रियं स्थिरबुद्धिर्सम्मूढो ब्रह्मविद् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः बाह्यस्पर्शे स्वसक्तात्मा विदत्यात्मनि यत्सुखम् स ब्रह्मयोगयुक्तात्मा सुखमक्षयमश्नुते ये हि संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुःखयोनय एव ते आद्यान्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुं प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगं स युक्ता स सुखी नरः योऽन्तः सुखोऽन्तरात्मस्तथान्तर्ज्योतिरेव यः स योगी ब्रह्मनिर्वाणं ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति लभन्ते ब्रह्मनिर्वाणं ऋषयः क्षीणकल्मषाः छिन्नद्वैधायतात्मानः सर्वभूतहिते रताः कामक्रोधवियुक्तानां यतीनां यतचेतसाम् अभितो ब्रह्मनिर्वाणं वर्तते विदितात्मनाम् परसान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यश्चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे बुभो प्राणापानौ शमौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धिर्मुनिमोक्षपरायणः विगतेच्छाभयक्रोधो या सदा मुक्त एव शः भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमिच्छति। ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे कर्मसन्न्यासयोगो नाम पञ्चमोऽध्यायः। ॐ श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु। जय गुरुदेव।
जय गुरुदेव घनश्याम जी, धन्यवाद। अभी शांति पाठ शुरू कीजिएगा।
हरि ओम ओम द्यो शांतिरंतरिक्षगुं शांतिः पृथिवी शांतिरापः शांतिरोषधयः शांतिः वनस्पतयः शांतिर्विश्वे देवाः शांतिर्ब्रह्म शांतिः सर्वगुं शांतिः शांतिरेव शांतिः सामा शांतिरेधि यतो यतः समीहसे ततो नो अभयं कुरु सन्नः गुरु प्रजाभ्यो भयन्नः पशुभ्यः ओम शांति शांति शांति। जय गुरुदेव।
जय गुरुदेव, धन्यवाद। अनिता जी, okay, so today we will wind up the session. Everyone can come on to the
Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev to all. Thank you so much for joining. And I hope it was constructive and nice. We missed Hemaji.
Yeah, we miss Hemaji today.
Anyways, okay, Jai Gurudev, Sunita. Let's close
Jai
it
Gurudev
now.
Antaji, it was very nice to have you in the session. I didn't find Bhuvanesh Sharma ji joining the session.
Yeah,
So
I spoke
shall
to
we?
him. Yeah, I
Okay.
spoke to him when you were meditating. He says he
Okay.
was very busy.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
shall we wind up the session? Thank you, Pralajit Naham. You
Jai
can come on to
Gurudev.
the Jai Gurudev.
Jai
ma'am.
Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Hope everyone finds in good health. And Shubhratri for everyone. Thank you for joining the session and making it a very good session for us today.
जी दीदी, जय
Jai
गुरुदेव।
Gurudev. Thank you, Ghanshyam ji.
Ghanshyam ji, thank you very much. Dhanyavad. Thank you, Bindu, for reciting Sanskrit. So I'll end the session, Ghanshyam ji, and Pralajit ma'am, please
Pralajit
have a
Jai
nice
Gurudev.
जी दीदी।
day. Okay.
Jai Gurudev.